Top 5 first-year offensive coordinators with the most pressure. And we did not get to this today because we had a lot of other stuff going on. But we need to get Sam Kahn on here in the next couple days. He wrote a fantastically interesting column, like he is wont to do because he is very good at that, about the first day of Jimbo Fisher's spring practice and his foray into Bobby Petrino, which we'll get to in a second. But it kind of spurred me on to think about these first-year offensive coordinators are stepping into a situation with a lot of pressure, even though it may not be, like win this or the whole coaching staff leaves pressure. Some of it's different. Number 5, our old friend Philip Montgomery at Auburn. He is stepping into a situation where the fans are absolute crazy town, right? And there are going to be huge expectations for Hugh Freeze year one. Also, he is stepping into a situation with Hugh Freeze where Hugh Freeze is a guy like Jimbo Fisher who calls the plays. So what is Philip Montgomery's gig here? How does he do that? That's a lot of pressure on a guy. Now, Monty can handle it for sure.
No question.
But it is a very unique situation in that you have a coach who's not probably going to let you call the plays, but might. I don't know. It depends on what happens. And you're in a fan base that if you have two kind of not even bad games in a row, but games that are kind of average in a row, it's your torches and pitchforks.
Yeah, like you're walking on coals.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Number 4, Tommy Rees at Alabama. I could have put anybody who got this job at Alabama, and there's going to be a lot of pressure. Tommy Rees comes from Notre Dame. He's a young guy. He's outside the Saban tree, which is something he does, too, but he has to adjust to Nick Saban, which Nick Saban will make that as smooth a landing as possible because he's very smart. In spite of his, gruff exterior, I'm sure he wants a smooth landing for his coaches. Number 2, an Alabama offense that was really sloppy last year and not what everybody expected, even though they put up points because they have athletes, but they didn't have the wide receivers that they've had in the past. Of course, you can't just keep putting out first-round wide receivers and Heisman Trophy winners at a position that does win the Heisman Trophy and not expect there to be a little bit of a lull. And then wide receiver is maybe the second most, transferable position, right? Where if you are a stud freshman or a sophomore and you've only got 26 catches over the year, then you might get mad and go, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. And Alabama's had that a little bit too in the last couple of years, so they've lost some guys into the portal and lost some more this year. So Tommy Rees has to get Alabama back to that. Not only that, only one of his quarterbacks has played any kind of time, and that's Milroe, who's not really a quarterback that's been in the system or done what Alabama does for a while.
Milroe at times was just like dripping with greatness. And then, of course, he didn't protect the football too many times. But you can see it. But, yeah, he's got it. He needs to get some tread on the tires. But they got – what do they have, like 4 5-star quarterbacks on the depth chart or something like that?
Yeah, they do. They have a lot. But none of them have played that much.
I want Tommy Rees to have success for a couple of 2 or 3 reasons. One, when he left, Notre Dame's reaction was from the fan base, of course this happens. Good. That's good. And I can't imagine Nick Saban bringing somebody in that he doesn't think will mix and work with him.
Okay.
He's pretty good at hiring assistant coaches.
I will say this. If Tommy Rees wins at Alabama or is successful there, he'll be a head coach somewhere.
In 2 or 3 years, yes.
Okay, and then say one day Marcus Freeman moves on. If Tommy Rees is a successful head coach anywhere,
he might be back at Notre Dame.
They'll be like, bring it back. He's one of ours.
Man. Our buddy who's a big Notre Dame fan on the text line, he is not in any way, shape, and or form in any way a guy that like Tommy Rees as a coach. Maybe as a person, but not as a coach.
Yeah. Number 3, Shannon Dawson at Miami steps in from Houston, high-flying offense. I don't know if he has the horses yet to have this much pressure, but they're paying Mario Cristobal a lot of money. That offense was abysmal last year. They got punished by a lot of people, including Middle Tennessee State. Shout out Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where my in-laws live. But they absolutely need some kind of production. Then look, if Miami's not going to win the ACC this year, more than likely. I mean, you never say never, but there are better teams ahead of them in line that are more prepared to do that. They need to show that they're ready to build towards winning the ACC, and that's what Shannon Dawson's job is right now. So it's going to be tough for him because, again, the quarterback's up in the air. They didn't really get in the portal all that much. It's kind of nuts when it comes to that. Number 2, Garrett Riley at Clemson. Look, everybody's excited about Garrett Riley. Garrett Riley will probably do great with Cade Klubnik at Clemson. The problem is he's not stepping into Clemson 3 years ago when Clemson was head and shoulders above the rest of the ACC. You've got a team in Tallahassee that's coming. You've got the best quarterback in the league that's in Chapel Hill. You've got to match, what those teams are going to be doing. Not to mention who's going to come out of nowhere in the ACC.
But Paul, yes,
NC State,
all of that.
with
It's
Armstrong,
not Clemson 3 or 4 where they were the absolute dominant team, and the other teams you mentioned were just kind of not sure. He was able to win with Max Duggan. With all due respect to Max Duggan, I would think Klubnik is a much better player as far as
got a lot more phone calls.
Yes. But what he was able to do with Duggan was what made it so impressive. And Sonny Dykes, of course, gets a lot of credit for that too.
But there's still a lot of pressure because
they can't let anyone. They were the boat in the water, and the other ones were just like fish. And then they kind of came back down where they're treading water with a couple of them, and now they got to make sure they don't let anybody become the boat.
Well, yeah, especially the team from Tallahassee.
That was a damn good analogy for someone with me with not much brain damage.
I'll tell you, I say FSU, but also don't let Mac Brown taste a little success either. Like if you're the rest of the ACC.
Now he's got to prove there that he can win consistently at North Carolina. It's been a kind of one of these.
But if it is consistent, that's what I'm saying.
He'll take off.
Don't let him do it because he'll take off. And number 1, the guy who inspired this whole thing, Bobby Petrino. And of course, any excuse, I guess, to use this picture that Emory put up there.
All right, that's not. Who put that up there?
Emory did.
Stop.
But Bobby Petrino.
That looks like one of those SEC Shorts videos. After a loss.
Now, here's the thing. Jimbo Fisher made me do something today that I've never felt before, as I felt a little bad for Bobby Petrino.
Would you have movement or something? What do you
no, it was just like I thought, it's kind of feel bad for him because when Jimbo Fisher was asked directly, he'd be like, who's going to call the plays? What's the offense going to be like? He responded like it was after they lost to App State last year, and he was all mad. And so this is going to be interesting.
He's got to come up with a way to answer that question.
Well, the answer to the question should be threefold. A, who's going to call the plays? B, how the offense is going to change or tweak or what differences. And you don't have to give them specifics, but just you'll see maybe a little more of this and that from us. And 3, yes, I'm doing this because they made me.
Yes, there you go.
And that's fine. Look. I realize that I have, and there's not even a way, you don't have to say it that way. I realize that this game has changed and that I need to maybe step back and learn some things. So I'm going to let somebody else call the plays. Guess what? It's called the McCarthy. Mike McCarthy did it, and now he's not. He's learned some things, and now he's back in control. Nobody's saying you can never call the plays again, Jimbo, but everyone else has figured you out. So until you figure them out, you may have to step back. And that's how you say it. That's it. It's easy. Hire me as your PR agent, Jimbo. You make $10 million a year. I'll only charge you $3.
I am protesting the graphic. Emory, no food for you for a month. No more pizzas. No more whatever I bring to the table. That was unfair to Bobby Petrino. That's like, you know what I'm talking about with the SEC Shorts, right? Those videos, that guy does an incredible job. I bet he could just do that and be a millionaire. And that would be one of the pictures after, like, if Petrino was coaching somewhere and they lose, they would use that. All right, Paul, thank you very much.